Is he really concerned that we may not have fair and free elections?
The president has been consistent on this issue, and the issue at hand.
Are you concerned that without these voting rights bills, the election results won't be legitimate?
I'm absolutely concerned about that.
So there you have Democrats a bit doubling down at times on the president's suggestion that midterms may not be legitimate. That is, unless they say Congress passes the party's bill to federalize elections. Here to talk about that, more things, the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. And sir, good morning to you. Thanks for coming back. The quote from the president on Wednesday was, "I think it easily could be illegitimate." Jen Psaki came on yesterday and said he was absolutely not suggesting that. How did you hear it?
Well, every day we hear something from the president, and the next day we hear the correction. So I'm not quite sure what the president is talking about on each motion. This makes no sense, because if anyone read the bills of what they want to do, their H.R. 1 and others, they really want to have a speech czar. They want to have taxpayer money pay for campaigns. And in their very first bill that they put forward, Schumer would have gotten $40 million of taxpayer money for his campaign. They want to politicize the Federal Election Committee. Instead of being an equal number of Republicans or equal number of Democrats, they want to weight it towards the Democratic side. I don't know if they're doing this because they know what's going to happen, that they know they're going to lose the majority. I mean, they got 28 Democrats today already announced retirements. And in 290 days and 13 hours, the American public is going to be able to have their voice heard. I bet that retirement number goes well over 30. And remember, in 2010, when they lost 63 seats and they had a high retirement, that was just 17 retirements at that time.
He said that he's going to try to get out and travel a lot more. He's going to be out on the campaign trail. He's going to talk about his accomplishments. Does that concern you at all when it comes to the races that you're trying to win?
No, I want him in those races. You look at his approval rating, I bet he doesn't have one member of Congress in the Democratic Party asking him to come. Are they going to ask the president, the vice president, or Nancy Pelosi? I would welcome them coming out. Let's explain why inflation and the prices are so high. Let's explain why there's crime in the streets day in and day out. Let's explain why the borders are open and they won't go visit it or do anything to deter it. Let's explain why the world is not safe anymore based upon his handling Afghanistan with 13 new Gold Star families. And now he could have more blood on his hands based upon how he welcomed Putin to invade and an incursion into Ukraine. I mean, there is issue after issue that the American public cares about. His biggest problem, he's not out there listening.
No. Absence of Stacey Abrams in Georgia about a week ago may portend some of that. We'll see whether or not you're right. I've talked to a lot of folks in Washington about the number of seats that you're targeting. Some people say it's high as 70. Others say it's 45. What is it more realistically, you believe? Is it close to the 45 or 70?
Targeting is what you're going to campaign in. And after looking at New Jersey and Virginia, remember, President Biden won New Jersey a year prior by 16 points. He won Virginia by 10. So I would say any Democrat who sits in a seat where Biden won by 16 or less, it's a competitive seat, and we should challenge him. We're getting amazing recruitments coming out. Remember, in the last election, we had more Republican women got elected to Congress than in any time in history.
Right.
The diversity of what we're finding, that means we can compete anywhere. We won seats that Biden won by more than 15 points. Our best state in the last election was California, defeating 4 Democrats.
Then you might see more of that, right? The way things are going, you might see more of it. But one of the things the president said in his press conference the other day is that he can't explain, he doesn't know what Republicans stand for. One of the things that happened in the press conference is you did not have any questions on crime at all. We just had Jesse Waters on. He went and talked to a diverse group of people down there at Union Square. And he said everybody from every walk of life said crime was the thing that they want him to cover on his new primetime show. Are the Democrats just completely missing this issue as you're out there campaigning? Is that something that you could tell President Biden that the Republican Party is for?
I can tell them what a lot we're for, but the Democrats aren't just missing it, they're causing the crime. Their election of their DAs, the movement of defunding of the police. I just saw our governor, he's like shocked because now we have train robberies in California again. But it's been happening for months, and he goes down there and he says, oh my God, this looks like gangs, then apologizes for using the word gangs like he offended somebody. We're watching this in city after city that's going forward, and these are Democrat-driven. If the president wants to know what we're for, We're for food on our shelves. We're for kids back in our schools. We're for a border that's secure. We're for safe streets and neighborhoods going forward. We're for small businesses that can open, not be closed, not have mandates put upon them. The idea of freedom going forward. We're for American energy to be independent, not that we bring Russian natural gas into America. We're for America having a pipeline, not Putin so he can control Europe. There are so many items that we're for, but I believe that's what the American public is for. And in 290 days and 13 hours, I think the American public is going to be able to have that.
Are you counting? Who's counting? I got it.
Off the top of
290
your
days.
head.
The American public is counting
they
because
are.
they're frustrated
Yeah,
what
I
is
think so.
happening. And all this president does is blame somebody else. So if you really want to join with us, go to firepelosi.com.
All right. Congressman, thank you. Have a good weekend. We
Thank you.
appreciate you
Thank
joining.
you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.